Hi everyone. The next topic in the renal physiology that we are discussing is the renal blood flow. So how we can measure the renal blood flow? So that is based on Fick's principle. So what do you mean by Fick's principle? Blood flow through an organ is detected by measuring the amount of substance taken up by the organ per unit time divided by the arteriovenous difference of the substance across the organ. So a substance is given, the organ will take up some amount of substance per unit time. So that divided by the arteriovenous difference of the substance across the organ. Now we have to apply the Fick's principle to the kidney. So the kidney, the main function is excretion, and the kidney will filter the plasma. So for finding out the renal plasma flow, we have to find out the amount of substance excreted per unit time divided by the renal arteriovenous difference of the substance. So here it is not the absorption of the substance but is excretion of the substance. So renal plasma flow is equal to amount of substance excreted per minute divided by AV concentration of the substance. So which are the substances that are used to measure renal blood flow? Substance that is used to measure the blood flow is para-aminohippuric acid or PAH. So what are the features that we have to check for a substance to be used to measure renal blood flow? The substance should be freely filtered, not reabsorbed, fully secreted, not metabolized, not stored or not produced by kidney. And it can be measured both in the arterial as well as venous blood, and by itself it should not affect the blood flow. Once again, it should be freely filtered, not reabsorbed, fully secreted. It should not be metabolized, stored or produced by the kidney, and it can be measured in arterial and venous blood and should not affect the blood flow. And so the substance is the para-aminohippuric acid, and this PAH more than 90% is removed in single circulation. So how we can calculate renal plasma flow? Amount of PAH excreted in urine per minute divided by arteriovenous concentration of the PAH, difference in the concentration of PAH. So amount of PAH excreted we can calculate using the formula urinary concentration of PAH into rate of urine flow. Urinary concentration of PAH into rate of urine flow will give you the amount of PAH excreted in urine per minute. And APAH is concentration of PAH in renal artery, and BPAH is the concentration of PAH in renal vein. At a low concentration of PAH, clearance of PAH is complete, and so the VPAH can be taken as 0. That means the venous concentration of PAH. So almost all the PAH is cleared. So nothing is coming to the vein. All the PAH that is coming in the artery is getting filtered. So the venous PAH can be taken as 0. So we modified the formula as amount of PAH excreted in urine per minute divided by APH, that is arterial concentration of PAH. So the formula is UPAH into V divided by APAH, and so this formula is called as the clearance of PAH or CPAH. And we already said the PAH is 90% filtered or cleared, but 10% is not cleared. So there is an underestimation by 10%. So we calculated the renal plasma flow using this PAH, and it has a 10% error. So whatever the clearance or the renal plasma flow we have calculated, we will take it as a effective renal plasma flow. So effective renal plasma flow is equal to UPAH into V by APAH. So this UPAH into V by APAH is the clearance of the PAH. So whatever we calculated using PAH, it's not the actual renal plasma flow but effective renal plasma flow because 10% of PAH is not cleared. Now how we can calculate the actual renal plasma flow? So actual renal plasma flow equals effective renal plasma flow by extraction ratio. So what do you mean by extraction ratio? So how much amount of PAH is filtered in single circulation? So that is called as the extraction ratio. So extraction ratio of PAH is 90% or 0.9. So how we can get the actual renal plasma flow? So actual renal plasma flow equals effective renal plasma flow by 0.9. Next is the renal blood flow. So what we have calculated is the renal plasma flow. So we have to get the renal blood flow from the plasma flow. So renal blood flow is given by the formula actual renal plasma flow by 1 minus hematocrit. Now coming to the regulation of renal blood flow. So there are various factors that regulate the renal blood flow. Neural factors, hormonal factors, local factors and autoregulatory mechanisms. So first is the neural factors. So sympathetic stimulation will produce vasoconstriction and that will decreases the renal blood flow, and at the same time it will increases the renin secretion, and so the renin will activate angiotensin to angiotensin. So angiotensin level will increase and this angiotensin causes again renal vasoconstriction and decreases the renal blood flow. Sympathetic stimulation basically decreases the renal blood flow. Next is the hormonal factors. So there are various vasoconstrictors and vasodilators. So vasoconstrictors include epinephrine, norepinephrine, angiotensin II, endothelin, vasopressin and adenosine. And vasodilators include dopamine, histamine, prostacyclin, acetylcholine and adenosine. Next is the local factors. So there are certain locally produced metabolites and chemicals that can affect the renal blood flow. The most important is the CO2 and prostaglandins, and these two can produce renal vasodilation and increases the renal blood flow. Now coming to the auto-regulation of renal blood flow, and at the same time that will regulate the GFR also. So what do you mean by auto-regulation? Even when the blood pressure varies between 90 and 180 mmHg, the renal blood flow as well as the GFR is kept constant. So that is called as auto-regulation. So between 90 to 180 mmHg blood pressure, renal blood flow is kept constant. So why is it important to regulate this renal blood flow as well as the GFR? So this auto-regulation will prevent the damage to the glomerular capillaries, and it will maintain the GFR at a constant level, and this will enable the kidney to uncouple the other functions from change in the blood pressure. That means the kidney can continue its own functions even though there is a change in the blood pressure without affecting its renal blood flow. So what are the mechanisms of auto-regulation? There are two main mechanisms, myogenic mechanism and tubuloglomerular feedback. So first the myogenic theory of auto-regulation. So what will happen here? If there is an increased blood pressure, what will happen? There will be more of blood flow and the arterioles will undergo stretching. So this stretching will open up stretch activated channels present on the arterioles. So this will causes the smooth muscles of the arteriole to contract. So that contraction will decreases the blood flow. So that's the myogenic theory of autoregulation. So increase in the pressure, it will produce a stretch on the arterioles. So that will open up the stretch activated channels, and that will causes the muscle contraction, smooth muscle contraction of the arterioles, and so the vasoconstriction occurs and decrease in the blood flow. So next mechanism of the autoregulation is tubuloglomerular feedback. That means a feedback signal from the tubule to the glomerulus, that is maintaining the autoregulation. This is mainly by the JG apparatus or the juxtaglomerular apparatus that we discussed in the last class. So how is this working? So when there is an increase in the renal arterial pressure, that will increases the pressure in the glomerular capillaries as well, and that will increases the GFR. So when there is an increase in the GFR, there will be increased filtration or increased flow of plasma in the tubule. So the macula densa, we already said, is a chemoreceptor, and it can sense the increase in the water as well as the sodium and chloride concentration in the thick ascending limb of loop of Henle. And where this macula densa will pass the signal to, it will provide the signal to the JG cells, where it will decreases the renin secretion and thus decreases the renin-angiotensin mechanism or the RAS system, and thus decreases the renal blood flow. And another effect is that it will provide signal to the glomerulus as well, or to the renal corpuscle as well, and that will cause a contraction of the afferent arteriole, and that will also decreases the GFR. So what will happen if there is a drop in the blood pressure? So drop in blood pressure causes a drop in the GFR as well. So there will be decrease in the sodium and chloride concentration in the thick ascending limb. So who will sense this one? Macula densa will sense the decrease in the sodium and chloride concentration in the thick ascending limb. And this macula densa will send the information to the glomerulus. So it will cause a relaxation of the afferent arteriole, and that will increases the renal plasma flow, and thus raises the GFR. And another effect of the macula densa, it will stimulate the JG cells to secrete renin, and the renin will activate angiotensin. Angiotensin can cause efferent arteriolar constriction and thus increases the GFR, and at the same time it can produce vasoconstriction in all parts of our body, and thus will increases the blood pressure and thus increases the GFR. And another effect is angiotensin will activate aldosterone, and aldosterone will cause sodium and water reabsorption, and thus it will increases the BP and thus raise the GFR. Okay, so that finishes the important topics in the renal blood flow. Thank you.